Tonight, breaking developments as we come on the air. The deadly shooting at an American newspaper. We're on the scene tonight, several dead, multiple workers in, quote, grave condition. The horrific scene unfolding late today, the reporter hiding under his desk, saying a gunman shot through the glass door, adding there is nothing more terrifying than hearing multiple people shot while you're under your desk. Tonight, the suspect surrounded, now being questioned, and the president's first response. Also this evening, the battle over the future of the Supreme Court. President Trump, some of his clearest words yet on his plan to replace Justice Anthony Kennedy. He could reshape the court for more than a generation. Tonight, Democrats scrambling, but do they have any power to slow down the president's pick? The fiery words on Capitol Hill. The man in charge of Robert Mueller and the Russia investigation, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, in the hot seat. You will hear how he responds. The race against time tonight, the young soccer team trapped in a cave for 6 days now. U.S. military search and rescue teams on the scene. The tornado watch as we come on the air tonight and the risk of severe storms. Rob Marciano standing by with the new track. And multiple explosions in an American neighborhood. Late word of an arrest. And tonight, what authorities have now discovered.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening on this Thursday night, and we begin with the horrific scene unfolding late today. The man opening fire on reporters at a newspaper in Annapolis, Maryland. At least 5 dead, authorities not long ago revealing multiple others shot and are in, quote, grave condition. It happened in the Capitol Gazette newsroom. And this image we have seen so often at mass shootings, usually children marched out of schools. Tonight, adults, reporters from a newsroom and the rest of that building, walking out with their hands in the air. Authorities say police officers were there within 60 seconds or so, surrounding the shooter who had been shooting through the glass door of the newsroom. A sweep of the building also revealing tonight one explosive device. This evening they are questioning the suspect, but even with him in custody now, they have been unable to identify who he is or his motive. ABC's Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas on the scene tonight.
The shooting began just after 2:30 this afternoon in the newsroom of the Annapolis Capitol Gazette newspaper. The call going out for emergency help.
Several shots have been fired, possible shotgun, at least 10 shots heard.
There was a massive response from multiple agencies, local police arriving within 60 seconds.
All units, limit your transmissions. Do we have any kind of intel on our shooter? My help with the ponytail.
Police then trying to get people out. Adults could be seen coming out with their hands in the air, getting searched by the police.
The police came through, knocking on our door, grabbing the door, and then checking to make sure we are okay. And the next thing you know, he's like, you need to get out, you need to get out. So then we all ran out into the hallway.
We're doing everything we can to get people out safe, and we're trying to minimize the casualties.
While inside, a police reporter at the newspaper, Phil Davis, tweeting his description of the horror unfolding. He said it was like a war zone, tweeting, "A single shooter shot multiple people at my office, some of whom are dead." Then he tweets, "Gunman shot through the glass door of the office and opened fire on multiple employees. Can't say much more and don't want to declare anyone dead, but it's bad." And perhaps his most chilling tweet came next. "There's nothing more terrifying than hearing multiple people get shot while you're under your desk and then hear the gunman reload." And then late today, authorities before the cameras confirming the terrible toll.
There are several people who have died from this incident, and several others are injured. I don't know what to say other than our thoughts and prayers are with them and their families.
Police confirming multiple dead. The scene unfolding for hours as police used dogs to search for explosives and possible accomplices.
Command copy, suspect in custody per PD.
Tonight, authorities confirming they surrounded the alleged gunman, and he was captured. A shotgun found at the scene, sources telling ABC News.
The shooter is in custody and being interrogated at this time.
Tonight, authorities say the building is secure, that there are no other shooters. But when asked if they knew if the shooter was on their radar, they would not answer.
The shooter appeared to be known to police or to the Capitol Gazette employees.
It was very, very scary because you would never think something would happen to you at work. I just thank God that he got me and all of my coworkers out safely.
And tonight, that police reporter who was hiding under his desk telling the paper, "I'm a police reporter. I write about this stuff all the time. But as much as I'm going to try to articulate how traumatizing it is to be hiding under your desk, you don't know until you're there and you feel helpless."
And Pierre Thomas with us live tonight from the scene in Annapolis, Maryland. And Pierre, we know that reporter who tweeted said he was hiding under his desk. He also said he could hear the shooter reload, but then at some point he stopped firing. The reporter saying, "I don't know why." And tonight we don't even know who the suspect is, even with him sitting across from interrogators.
That's right, David. He's sitting right there across from the interrogators, and they have no idea who he is. Sources say he did not have a wallet and that he's not talking. The only thing clear tonight is he showed up in that newsroom with a shotgun and a deadly plan, David.
Pierre Thomas leading us off tonight. Pierre, thank you. Just moments ago, we heard from an eyewitness, a man who works at a business in that same building right across the hall from the newsroom. He was on the phone when gunfire broke out, and he could see into the newsroom of the Capital Gazette as this was unfolding. Here's what he saw.
I saw a guy holding a gun. The door of the Capital Gazette had been blown to pieces. It was in shattered pieces all on the carpet. And this guy was holding what looked like a big shotgun and moving across the entrance of the Capital Gazette office, pointing the gun deeper into the office, like he was targeting people. I mean, I only looked at him for a second, right? I ducked my head back behind the wall as soon as I saw the guy initially. And I saw a young woman who looked like she'd been hurt. She was on the ground. There was a bunch of blood on the floor, so we stayed in our office until a second group of police officers showed up. They actually broke down our office door, and then they escorted us out. You know, they escorted us out with our hands up over our heads. They just made sure we were all safe and then let us go.
An eyewitness late today right across the hall from that newsroom. Tonight, the president is back in Washington. He's now been briefed, and his first words came even before he left Wisconsin. So let's get right to Terry Moran at the White House tonight. Terry?
Well, David, you're absolutely right. The president was in Wisconsin and was briefed there. He took to Twitter shortly afterwards, saying, "My thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families. Thank you to all the first responders who are currently on the scene." This is already a grimly familiar ritual for this president, as for all recent presidents. This seemingly endless series of shootings generating the same kind of expressions of grief and sympathy and the same debates. David?
Terry, stay with us here tonight because the other major story of the night, the White House is also watching, of course, the battle forming over the future of the Supreme Court. President Trump set to pick the next justice, which could shift the balance on the court for more than a generation. President Trump saying he will nominate someone to replace Justice Kennedy, who will be on the court, in his words, for the next 40 to 45 years. And so, Terry, tonight on the future of the court and on Democrats scrambling, but with few options tonight.
President Trump is on the brink of reshaping the Supreme Court for generations with his choice to replace Justice Anthony Kennedy.
We have to pick one that's going to be there for 40 years, 45 years.
The president says he'll choose from a list of 25 candidates he began compiling in 2016. High on the short list, Judge Thomas Hardiman of Pittsburgh, 52, a strong gun rights supporter. He was said to be runner-up last year when Trump picked Neil Gorsuch. Judge Brett Kavanaugh of Washington, D.C., also 52, and like Gorsuch, also a former clerk to Justice Kennedy. He worked in the George W. Bush White House. And Judge Amy Coney Barrett of Chicago, 46, a former clerk to the late Justice Antonin Scalia. She's criticized Roe v. Wade and is a mom of 7 children, including a special needs child and 2 children adopted from Haiti. Democrats, outnumbered, are already trying to stop any vote, echoing the argument Republicans used when they blocked President Obama's nominee Merrick Garland in an election year. Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois tweeting, "The American people should have a voice in the selection of their next Supreme Court justice." But there's a big difference. Republicans had the votes to block Garland. Democrats are in the minority now.
We will vote to confirm Justice Kennedy's successor this fall.
But for every senator, this will be a monumental vote. Perhaps the biggest issue, the right to choose abortion. President Trump in 2016 became the first Republican nominee to explicitly promise the end of Roe v. Wade.
Well, if we put another 2 or perhaps 3 justices on, that's really what's going to be, that will happen. And that'll happen automatically, in my opinion, because I am putting pro-life justices on the court.
Now, with Trump ready to deliver, there's tremendous pressure on the 2 pro-choice Republican women senators, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska and Maine's Susan Collins.
Roe v. Wade is an important precedent, and it is settled law.
If Democrats have any chance of blocking a nomination, they can't afford to lose a single vote. But now 3 Democrats up for re-election in states Trump won are feeling the heat. They all voted to confirm Neil Gorsuch, but that didn't stop the president from attacking one of them, North Dakota's Heidi Heitkamp, in her own backyard last night.
Heidi will vote no to any pick we make for the Supreme Court.
So let's bring back in Terry Moran from the White House. And Terry, with the president's second nomination to the court now, less than 2 years into his presidency, this court will likely soon leave solidly conservative. And the president's potential picks, Terry, as we looked at the list today, they're all relatively young.
That's right, David. That long list of 25, the average age of some were just over 50 years old. So when the president says his choice will have an impact on America lasting for decades, he's absolutely right. And that sharp shift to the right that this nomination will represent if confirmed, that will operate as a kind of invitation to conservative lawmakers and activists around the country who will bring cases that target Roe versus Wade and affirmative action and other conservative causes. In a way, this court later this year will be open for business for conservatives.
All right, Terry Moran at the White House. Terry, thank you. Next to the fiery hearing on Capitol Hill today, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, who is overseeing Robert Mueller's Russia investigation, facing tough questions. Tonight, how he responded. Here's ABC senior White House correspondent Cecilia Vega.
The man supervising the Russia investigation today in the hot seat on Capitol Hill. Lawmakers grilling Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, saying the probe has gone on long enough.
We need to see the evidence. If you have evidence of wrongdoing by any member of the Trump campaign, present it to the damn grand jury. If you have evidence that this president acted inappropriately, present it to the American people. Whatever you got, finish it the hell up, because this country is being torn apart.
In the wake of a scathing Inspector General report blasting the Justice Department for its handling of the Clinton email investigation, Rosenstein and FBI Director Christopher Wray facing heated questions. Republican Congressman Jim Jordan, a staunch ally of President Trump, accusing Rosenstein of hiding information.
Why are you keeping information from Congress?
Congressman, I am not keeping any information from Congress that it's appropriate.
In a few minutes, Mr. Rosenstein, I think the House of Representatives is going to say something different.
I don't agree with you, Congressman. I don't believe that's what they're going to say, and if they do, they'll be mistaken.
I disagree, but I think
your statement that I'm personally keeping information from you, trying to conceal information.
You're the boss, Mr. Rosenstein.
That's correct, and my job is to make sure that we respond to your concerns. We have, sir.
And I think the House of Representatives is going to say otherwise.
But your use of this to attack me personally
Why did you?
is
It's not
deeply wrong.
The Justice Department says it has already turned over nearly 900,000 pages and is working around the clock to comply with Republican demands for transparency. And tonight, the House turning up the pressure. Lawmakers approving a rare resolution demanding even more documents and threatening to hold Rosenstein in contempt of Congress or even impeach him if he does not comply.
We are not in contempt of this Congress, and we are not going to be in contempt of this Congress.
I didn't think I was going to be spending the first 10 months of my job staring down the barrel of a contempt citation for conduct that occurred long before I even thought about being FBI director.
And Cecilia Vega is with us here on the desk here in New York tonight. And Cecilia, as they debated the merits of the Russia investigation in Washington today, ABC News also learned today that the special counsel is now looking into some of the people who attended the president's inauguration.
Yeah, these were invitation-only receptions attended by several Russian billionaires. We obtained that guest list, David. We were talking about at least one of them has since been sanctioned by the U.S. Treasury Department. These are oligarchs with deep ties to Moscow. No response from the White House yet.
All right, Cecilia Vega, I know you'll be on GMA in the morning. We'll be watching. We move on to other news tonight. It was just 2 weeks ago we were in Singapore for the high-stakes summit. President Trump and Kim Jong-un. Well, tonight we learn we'll soon be in Helsinki. In just about 3 weeks, the president and now his summit with Vladimir Putin. Here's ABC's chief global affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz, tonight.
He has been talking up a summit with Vladimir Putin for months, and now the date is set.
Well, I think we'll be talking about Syria. I think we'll be talking about Ukraine. I think we'll be talking about many other subjects, and we'll see what happens. So you never know. You never know about meetings, what happens.
They will meet in Helsinki on July 16th amid the swirling special counsel investigation into Russian election meddling and possible collusion with the Trump campaign. National Security Advisor John Bolton in Moscow laying the groundwork. Russian officials say Putin told Bolton he did not meddle. Today, President Trump tweeting, Russia continues to say they had nothing to do with meddling in our election. He has consistently heaped praise on the Russian leader, most recently praising Russia's hosting